iHeartMedia.
Happy New Year from Music Row in Nashville, Tennessee. This is the nation's #1 show for the family caregiver, and we are so glad that you're with us. I am Peter Rosenberger, bringing you 30 years of experience to help you stay strong and healthy as you take care of someone who is not. This is Hope for the Caregiver, and we are so glad that you're spending your New Year's Eve with us. No fireworks in here, according to state law, I think. Not because John didn't want to, but because we can't. And sometimes it's always important to know what you can't do. And that's what this show is about. 800-688-9522. 800-688-9522. If you want to be on the show. Has it been a tough year for you? Have you had a hard time this year? Are you closing up this year and grateful to be doing so? We understand that. And if so, feel free to share it with us, because if you're feeling it, guess what? Someone else is as well. And I know that they would like to hear that they're not the only ones. 800-688-9522. And when you call, you will hear the melodic voice and the guy who celebrates New Year with Mr. Spock, which is the Vulcan New Year of Kashara. He is the Count of Mighty Disco, John Butler, everyone.
No, what? What? I'm not even playing my theme song for
the
this.
The Vulcan New Year.
I know.
Called Kashara.
Yes, I am quite aware of that. The fact that you were bold enough to bring it on the air.
Well, live long and prosper, John.
And back at you, Peter.
Live long and prosper.
Well, and that is that's what the show is all about.
So I surprised you with that one, didn't I?
That was good. I am often blindsided by you, which is a common occurrence in my daily life. This one was good. I appreciate it, Peter. How you doing?
Did you really know it was Kashara?
I did know it was Kashara. Yeah. I may not have been able to say it right off the bat, but like if you gave me a multiple choice and Kashara was in there, that's the one. I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. Clearly.
You delight me, John.
No Ponfar jokes, okay?
All right. Well, listen. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Peter.
We do not have fireworks.
We do not, and I am anti-firework right now, just for no good reason other than that's just a lot of cleanup.
Yeah, it's not the safety issue. It's just
no, I don't care about that.
I've already celebrated New Year. My brother lives in the Middle East. So I called him today, so I wouldn't have to stay up late tonight. Happy New Year.
Delightfully efficient of you.
It was actually kind of fun. He actually laughed at that. I said, "Look, I'd rather you guys stay up late than me."
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm going to call it a night pretty early tonight.
Gotcha.
And I think a lot of caregivers are like this. That we're kind of glad that we just want to pull the covers over us and say goodbye to the last year.
Yeah.
I've had that experience all too often.
Yeah, this one was a particularly I'm ready for 2018 in a very I'm eager for it.
Well, we closed out this month with I think 14 different medical visits in 1 month. And none of our visits are what you call routine.
Yeah, this wasn't your annual physical.
No.
Yeah.
These are serious doctors with serious issues that we have to deal with. And if for whatever reason they all ganged up on us at one time.
I was going to say the doctors clearly have issues, but
yes, they did. And
are you taking credit for those issues?
Or blame, however it works for you.
Hey,
all right. Well, look, we got a lot to cover today. It is the last day of the year, and we're glad that you're spending it with us. And you know what? We're gonna celebrate a few things here that we've done as caregivers, that we've made it through this year. And also I want to take a moment just to welcome everybody listening across the country on the Truth Network. This has been a big, the highlight of my year, I think, for me, was that we took the show syndication.
Yeah, there's I've mentioned this to people, and at this point, it's been months into it, so I'm used to the idea.
It actually works.
Yeah, like it works, and I say, oh yeah, and we got like almost as an afterthought, and jaws drop, and like, John, what are you doing? Bringing
a show to a radio station like WLAC here, 1510.
Mm-hmm.
big station. And that's not an easy process in of itself. And then to take it and go national. You've been in radio a long time, a lot longer than I have.
This doesn't happen.
This is your formal area of expertise. You produced a lot of shows.
Yeah, I counted it up one time, and this was years ago. It was over 50 shows. It was crazy.
And none of them are still on the air?
None of them.
Is it you?
Hey, look, we made the doctor comment earlier that if you have a special skill at driving doctors to drink and therapy,
to leave the medical practice.
To leave the medical practice, then I have a special effect on radio show hosts.
Well, but I think you could say, in all seriousness, in all candor, it's a difficult thing to do.
It absolutely is. There are a ton of moving parts to this, and that's just after you achieve the idea of a good show, of a show where there is demand, and the skills necessary to have that show. It's completely separate from that. There's a whole laundry list of things that have to go on.
And you've helped me do all that, and the folks at the Truth Network have been incredibly gracious to help me, and thank you all for listening. We have a big audience over in North Carolina where they're based out of, and based from, not out of.
There you go.
Sorry, that South Carolina English class came out. But I'm just grateful. Folks in Salt Lake, I got a brother who lives out in Salt Lake. I have 4 brothers. So one lives as far away as Salt Lake, and the other lives in the Middle East in an undisclosed country that I'm not allowed to name.
Right, because he doesn't want you visiting.
Mostly, yes. Mostly. But, you know, I'm just thrilled. And then my parents, my mom went over to a local hospital in South Carolina where she gets some blood work and so forth. And the lady saw the name. She said, Rosenberger. She said, do you know a guy named Peter Rosenberger? Because I heard his Caregiver Minute earlier on the radio. And my mom went, well, I guess I'll claim him. And so, but we have this thing called Your Caregiver Minute that's on 270 stations.
Yeah, this is through a couple of different other shows that just carry it, or stations that just they needed this type of content because it is valuable.
It's exactly
content.
what it says. Your Caregiver Minute. It's not some kind of long diatribe. It's just little nuggets that you could hang on to. And
why would anyone ever accuse you of a diatribe?
No, well, but our friends at Medi-share sponsor that. And because one of the issues that caregivers struggle with is isolation. And so we're taking community to the caregivers, and Medi-share is a community of people dedicated to helping you stay healthy and strong. And they thought it was a natural fit, and so they love this. And I just posted a new one up, and I'm just going to keep adding to this library. And it's playing every day somewhere on 270 stations.
Hey, right on.
I'm floored by that.
Yeah.
And so, these are things.
Behold the reach and scope of your voice.
Well, I think it shows, if anything, it shows the need of the message, and that healthy caregivers make better caregivers, and that's what we're all about here on this show, is helping fellow caregivers stay strong and healthy. And in the process, you know what? I'm doing this for myself too. I'm still a caregiver, and I'm going to be one for a very long time, and that's okay. I just need help doing it. And I need help. I need to learn how to ask for help. I need to learn what help looks like, and then have the courage to do so. And that's the lesson I've learned for caregivers, is that we have to identify what help really looks like. And which brings me to my caregiver tip of the day. The caregiver tip of the day. We like to have a...
Every time you say it, man, I'm contractually obligated. I don't want to do it.
I know that you all are stunned by the amount of sheer professionalism that we show, and the work that goes into each and every show. You're thinking we probably have a team of people, of writers and specialists and so forth. And you're wrong.
What we do, all of them lack opposable thumbs. There's a room full of monkeys and a room full of typewriters in the back here.
It's, caregiver tip of the day. Just one word, one word for today. And it's a word that I have come to value and appreciate, and it is delegate. Delegate. That's going to be my mission, I think, for myself for 2018. And I want to give you a couple of examples of how I'm doing this. All right. I have recently hired 2 part-time assistants, just a couple hours, but they help me with stuff, with just admin stuff. And I never see them. Everything I do is I have a virtual office. And so I ship off things, I'll drop off supplies, but that's about it. And then they do the work on their own time, get it done, and turn it back to me. I have a web guy that's I never see, and I delegate work to him to do this stuff, and it's just been an amazingly freeing thing for me.
Yeah.
And I can't do a lot because, resources are what they are, but I made a commitment that I was going to delegate something. And once you do one task, now we caregivers are good with the word delegate because we have people delegate to us.
Oh, yeah.
That's not an issue.
No, we understand the nature of delegation.
We could spell it and we could define it easily in any kind of contest. But can we execute it? That's the challenge for us as caregivers, and that's a hard thing to do. And so what I am asking of you today as a fellow caregiver is just to find one tiny task, not anything major. Now, there are a lot of reasons why we don't do it, and most all of them are rooted in fear. Now, let's break that down. Fear of being rejected when you ask somebody to do something, fear of somebody agreeing to do it, and then they'll just screw it up, and then you'll have to clean up an even bigger mess.
Oh, I know that one.
and fear of somebody doing it and doing it for a season and then going, oh, I didn't realize I was getting into, and then they just kind of disappear somewhere, and the relationship suffers. So there's a lot of things like that. And you know what? Those are legitimate fears. I'm not dismissing any of those fears. But there's a point where the need to do so will eclipse the fear. And that's what this show is going to help us identify and move on. So delegate. We're going to find something we can delegate. This is the nation's #1 show for the family caregiver. I'm Peter Rosenberger, 800-688-9522. We'll be right back.
Beautiful.
And never brought to mind, should
Sing it, Frank.
This is one of my favorite songs to play on the piano, Peter.
I like it.
It's got that there's a really neat, like the last little da 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 da, that last little chord transition is just it's a beautiful little action. It just works out real well. I just love it.
I'm glad you shared that.
Thank you.
I like playing it too. It's a wonderful tune, and thank you for playing a little Frank Sinatra there. I think let's just do that with the whole show today.
Oh, I'm with it. That Dean comes in later.
All right,
so we'll be all right.
You can't go wrong. Dean Martin once said, "Frank's got the kind of voice that comes around once in a lifetime. Too bad it was during my lifetime."
Oh, I like
that's a quote from Dean Martin.
Dean always looked like he had the most fun out of everybody ever.
He probably did. Hey, listen, welcome back to the show For Caregivers, About Caregivers, hosted by a caregiver. This is Peter Rosenberger, bringing you 30 years of experience to help you stay strong and healthy. This is Hope for the Caregiver, hopeforthecaregiver.com. If you want to follow along on Facebook Live, we're streaming now as well. And we welcome everyone on the Truth Network listening and streaming on iHeart across the country and in other parts of the world. I told my brother, I said, would you listen? Because they're so far ahead of us.
Sure.
And he said, well, maybe if I'm not in bed. He said, the thrill of listening to you kind of left a long time ago.
Yeah, like, I don't know, childhood.
But my brother lives in the Middle East. I celebrated New Year's with him earlier, so I didn't have to stay up late.
Nice. What's your New Year's meal?
Well, New Year's Eve or New Year's Day?
New Year's Day.
Well, New Year's Day, of course, is black-eyed peas.
Okay.
All right, the standard.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve is probably good. Well, I got a big crock pot full of soup.
I'm having lamb. It's gonna.
Well,
I'm very proud of that.
Well, you go right ahead. I'm having soup.
Hey, man.
And so I've just been putting it all in the crock pot and just let it cook all day long. And it's we've been getting over some colds at our house. So
man, the crock pot is the best way around that.
It is. So I delegated the cooking to the crock pot tonight.
Yes, you did.
And that is our caregiver tip of the day. For those of you paying attention at home, caregiver.
I'm just going to play it at the worst
It's the timing
times.
and the professionalism of this show that sets us apart.
You never give me a heads up. You give me a heads up and then a long pause. And
well, I want you to stay there with your hand over the button in nervous anticipation.
Literally, my arms are crossed along the board right now.
It looks like Twister in the control.
It's bad.
Caregiver tip of the day is delegate. Delegate. Now, we have a hard time with this, and John, you mentioned this during the break. Sometimes we as caregivers will feel more like the employee and not like an executive. And a lot of the things that we deal with as caregivers happen to stem from self-esteem issues. And we don't look at ourselves as somebody who can take charge, who can manage a bunch of other individuals doing things and be a leader in this. We look at ourselves as basically just high-functioning multitaskers.
Well, in the way that the universe is something that happens to us as opposed to the other way around.
Correct. And so we're not victims of circumstances. We, or as Curly said on the Three Stages, a victim of circumstance. But we can start managing this from a different standpoint, and that's okay. It's okay to delegate. Now, some people say, well, I don't have the resources to do that. I can't hire somebody. I can't do this. I can't do this. Well, there's a lot of things we can't do. Let's focus on what we can do. And even if it's the simplest thing of delegating somebody to take out the trash, or somebody to empty the dishwasher, or somebody to pick up milk at the grocery store, or something, try doing one tiny piece of delegation. If you can do it once, you can do it twice. If you can do it twice, you can do it consistently. And that's what I'm trying to help us do as caregivers, so that we learn to not try to take everything on ourselves. One of my, in my book, 7 Caregiver Landmines and How You Could Avoid Them, the number 7 landmine is thinking that it's all up to me. I run into this everywhere. I run into it with myself. And I mean, I read my own book. I listen to my own show. I have to, because the issue for us as caregivers, it keeps, every day we have to wake up and be reminded of what we learned the day before. These are things we must incorporate. Now, if you're struggling with this and you're feeling all verklempt about it, 800-688-9522. We'd love to hear from you about it. This is the one show, and we have a commitment on this show. A lot of shows like to feature people having train wrecks.
Ooh.
We don't.
I'm guilty of watching some of those shows.
Well,
I'm sorry.
We all are. I mean, it started with the old days with Phil Donahue and Morton Downey Jr. And
I was going to say,
Geraldo.
I got a soft spot for Maury Povich, man. I'm sorry.
Those kinds of shows are what they are. And then there's other talk shows out there where the host will berate people who have made mistakes in their life. Not this show. This is not going to happen. We understand that you're already in a train wreck. You don't need me, John, or anybody else to come alongside you and just slap you around.
Yeah, that's what Peter and I do to each other.
What we need is someone to understand where we are and then give us a well-lit path to safety so that we can catch our breath and start making better decisions. That's what this show is about. And we're so glad you're with us. 800-688-9522. Give us a call. Let us celebrate you and what you're doing. You're doing something extraordinary, and it's worth recognizing. 800-688-9522. This is Peter Rosenberger. This is the nation's #1 show for the family caregiver. We'll be right back.
I'm glad I didn't speak up. You beat me to it. Celebrating.
Welcome back to the show, For Caregivers, About Caregivers, hosted by a caregiver. This is Peter Rosenberger, bringing you 30 plus years of experience to help you stay strong and healthy as you take care of someone who is not. This is Hope for the Caregiver. You can follow along at Hope for the Caregiver on Facebook, Hope for the number 4 Caregiver on Twitter, and go to hopeforthecaregiver.com for more information. We're glad you're with us. 800-688-9522, 800-688-9522. Want to thank you all for joining us here on New Year's Eve and listening to little Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin there that the Count of Mighty Disco has brought to the table. You have an eclectic musical taste, don't you?
I do. And I don't say that as a bragging thing. I say that as a little bit of a shameful thing. That I have. Okay, so my Pandora station that I get work done to, my housework and stuff like that, is all Madeleine Perrault, and she's a French Canadian jazz singer. Why, John? Why would you do this?
I think that's the question we're all asking right
exactly.
now. Across the country.
Yeah.
People are asking why. They're pulling over.
They're pulling over
right now and saying, why, John?
Yeah, because that's how important this is. But and thank you, Peter. I do enjoy a broad range of stuff. But Frank and Dean and Sammy, just it's smooth. You can't get around it.
It is, and I listen to the Sinatra Channel a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And enjoy doing it, and it's kind of a palate cleanser for today's music.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry to say that, but it really is. Hey, we're glad you're with us here. A lot of things going on. I want to reiterate the caregiver tip of the day. That was lame.
That's all you get.
That was lame.
Fine.
There you go. All right. Caregiver tip of the day, delegate. How many of you all feel like you do this well? Raise your hands. Now, come on. Raise them up.
I'm not raising mine.
How many of you all feel like this is an area that you need some improvement with, that you need to work on a little bit? I'm going to raise my hand on that one. That's me. It's hard for me to do so. I don't like turning over things to people because I'm afraid that it's going to get messed up or people are going to get up in my business.
That second one, though.
And we all think that we're being helpful all the time because we're caregivers. We do a lot of stuff. But, helpful is the sunny side of control. And
write that down.
You want to write that down?
I want to write that one down.
Go ahead and write that down, folks. Helpful can be the sunny side of control. And I'm going to go ahead and take a stab that a lot of us as caregivers deal with some control issues. I'm going to list my name at the top of the heap.
Keeping my mouth shut.
I can't. It's a radio show. I can't.
Yeah, that's the thing. No, because that's the thing that has hounded me my entire life is control issues.
Well, and we get affirmation, we get worth, we get value to ourselves and all that by trying to control a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we're driven out of fear because if we don't do it, it's all going to fall apart, yada, yada, yada.
And sometimes we're driven out of hubris.
Yes, a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
And so by learning to delegate, it does a couple of things. One of them is it brings fresh hands and eyes to a situation that can help genuinely take off some of the burden. The other thing is it teaches us a new walk in humility. And just because we do humbling tasks, just because we sometimes often feel humiliated, it doesn't mean that we're walking humbly.
We can clothe ourselves in the raiment of martyrdom.
Oh, there's been many times where I've been told to come down off the cross. We already have a Savior. We don't need you up there.
Like, hey, Peter, can you go out and get some milk? And while you're at it, get some wax for your cross.
It's just, it is embarrassing to admit it. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I would be a lousy host of this show if I didn't admit that this is an area that I have really struggled with. And I think I always would. I think Gracie would be the first one to tell you. In fact, I'm certain she would be the first one to tell you. I'd go ahead and lay money on that one.
I rarely just lose it.
And,
so that was good.
But, it's all up to me. It's all up to me. And a friend of mine once gave me a great piece of advice. And he looked at me very calmly and gently, but he said, you know what? Gracie has a Savior. You ain't that Savior. And that was a beginning of a great journey for me of learning what is mine and what is not mine. And I have to periodically look down at my hands, and if I don't see nail prints, realize that this is bigger than me, and I've yet to see nail prints. So that's and I know that sounds kind of simple, and I don't mean it trite. I don't mean it any other way than I'm saying it. It's just that, hey, this is a basic lesson we've got to learn as a caregiver. And we're drilling down in this thing. We don't just simply, on this show, we're not going to tell you to get a good night's rest and eat a healthy diet and exercise.
I mean, we are, but,
Yeah,
that's
but
like
any idiot can tell you that. You need a special kind of idiot to do what we do. Hey, wait a minute.
Hey.
Special kind.
This is deeper idiocy.
It takes a village idiot. And, and so this is what we're about on the show, is drilling it down to stuff where we really live. Okay? And this is where we live. We are trying so hard to grasp with everything in us, but we can't maintain it. It'll kill us. It will. And go ahead, John, and ask me how I know this.
How do you know this, Peter?
I'm glad you asked, John.
Oh, fantastic.
I know this from experience. Now, John, go ahead and ask me how I got all this experience.
How'd you get all this
failure.
experience, Peter? Oh.
Lots of failure.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of failure.
Beautiful failure.
And
from afar, if it's beautiful.
Mine was not so beautiful. It was real up close and personal. But, even in this, I'm not going to rail against it, because while I love the way I play the piano now. I love the way I write. I love the way I speak about these things. I hate how I got here. But I'm not going to rail against it, because I see value. And I see value each time I get to the studio. I see value each time I put out a podcast. And I see value each time I write a new blog post or whatever, because I'm thinking, okay, I'm taking things that I've learned the hard way and sharing it with another human being, just like others have done for me. And I'd be a mighty poor steward of all the things that I've learned over these decades if I didn't offer it to others. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do that. While I'm speaking of others, I need to bring to your attention a couple of things here, just to start off as we get ready to start the new year tomorrow. We have some new people that are joining us on this show, John.
Oh, do we?
We do. One of them is a group called Morning Point.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Morning Point, Assisted Living, Senior Living, and the Lantern Alzheimer's Memory Care Center of Excellence communities are spread across 5 states in the Southeast. And Morning Point, in fact, I was just at a ribbon cutting a couple of weeks ago of a new place in Spring Hill that they do. It is a fabulous place. They've thought of everything.
Okay.
And it's a wonderful assisted living and memory care center. And they've got, name it. It's all self-contained. The hair salon, the whole thing.
Right. A community, a village. Like you were talking. Yeah.
It is a community. And they look at it as such. And speaking of community, this was in Spring Hill, Tennessee. I think, there must have been 500 or 600 people or something show up there.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Everybody showed up for this. It was an amazing event. And they've come to me and engaged me. Now, I've spoken at a couple of events, and they said, we want to be a part of your show and start pushing a little bit more in some things with you and get me speaking out some events with them. And I'm just looking forward to it. I really am. They're wonderful people. And they serve a tremendous need. And, we're going to have them on the show talking about one of the things they do, like 30%, I think, of all the food they serve is locally grown.
Oh, right on. Okay.
So, and they have gardening programs that they do with their residents.
Okay.
And and some of them are they have Alzheimer's, but they take their little baby dolls and they're holding it while they go out and garden. It's precious.
Yeah, because there are skills that make it through that like nobody's business.
And
that's probably one of them. I'm sure
they really know their business, and so all the folks at Morning Point, thank you, and we're going to have a great year together, and I'm so looking forward to just growing with you guys. The other one is Medi-share, and we've talked a little bit about Medi-share, but Medi-share has come to me, and they want to take it even further. What we're trying to do. And they already sponsor the Your Caregiver Minutes that I do. It's on 270 stations across the country. And you can also get that as a podcast. I'm putting them out on podcasts, and the podcast is free.
Oh, yeah.
And help me understand, you're listening right now, help me understand why you're not taking advantage of this. It's 1 minute. Go out and look at the newest one that I put out there. and you can subscribe to the podcast. Just click on it and subscribe. And here's how you do it. You ready?
Go for it.
Caregiverpodcast.com.
I can't remember that, Peter. That's too
I
complicated.
mean, really, it's as President Bush would say, this ain't rocket surgery.
I just had this wonderful image. I'm gonna go buy an Alexa, right, from Amazon, and one of the things I'm gonna set up for it is Alexa, play Peter's Caregiver Minute or whatever.
You can.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you can. And you can also, by the way, you could do songs for the caregiver on Alexa.
Ooh,
because Gracie plays that and listens to it. And speaking of Gracie, my wife, and those of you who just
say hi to her for me, by the way.
Say hi yourself. I think she's listening.
Oh, hi, Gracie.
Hi, baby. My wife, for those of you who don't know her, she had a horrible car wreck, and we'll get into this more. If you just now listen to the show, you've never heard of any of this before. She had a horrible car wreck back in 1983. Here we are now, 34 years later, and she has she's facing her 79th surgery next month. They're going to have to go in and do something on her elbow because she's got a pinched nerve or something from a lot of scar tissue in her arm. All this is accident related. Both legs amputated. $10 million plus. Who can count at this point? It's just so crazy. 80 plus doctors have treated her, 12 hospitals, 7 different insurance companies. I mean, it's been quite a journey. And she's an incredible singer. And in fact, last week on Christmas Eve, we closed out the show with her singing Silent Night. Just a beautiful, beautiful version. And if you didn't hear it, you can go out to our website and hear it. And also, I have the Caregiver channel on YouTube.
Oh.
Caregiver channel. Just remember that. You can hear Silent and Gracie sing Silent Night. So she's been singing more. For a while there,
yeah,
it was pretty dicey.
I remember at the early in the show when we first started doing this, you talked about her singing mostly in the past tense.
Right. We almost didn't think she was going to make it, even at the beginning of this show. Not today, the beginning of the show.
This is like 4 years ago.
4 years ago. And, but she's coming back. She's been singing more. She is 60% through cutting a whole new record, and we're going to release it in September.
Oh, right on.
And so
right on, Gracie.
This is her first CD in 16 years. So not too bad.
Not too bad.
Now, this
at
is a
all.
woman who's sung on some very, very big stages.
Yeah.
And done a lot of things. And so we've been working on it just as she can do it, because she doesn't have a lot of strength. And so we get her in the studio, and she's been just when the mic turns on, I mean, it's like, dang, girl. So Chris Latham is working with us on this, and he's the one that co-wrote the theme song of this show with me. And he and the band, they play over here in the corner. And so we're working on that. Chris is up for his 4th Grammy.
That guy.
How about that? So kudos out to Chris for that. So just look forward to that. And then at the end of August, my new book that I wrote, that you can have a copy right now. You can get a preview copy of 7 Caregiver Landmines and how you can avoid them, but it's been picked up by a publisher, and it's going to be released nationally in August. So,
because I knew that was out and around, but I knew that was a non-standard delivery method. The way
I just did it myself.
Yeah.
Now, my other book, Hope for the Caregiver, has done very well. It's in its 4th printing. It's doing very well with my publisher and so forth. Well, now 7 Caregiver Landmines is set to eclipse even that. And so, but it's available right now if you want to be a part of that. But I just want to let you know that she's singing again, and she's going to do more, and we'll have her on the show as things. But she was just in the studio. We finished doing some vocals on a song the other night, and I'm telling you what, man, it is.
She's no joke.
Let me just say this. Right now, the tracks are being laid down with the Hammond B3 and the Leslie speaker. I'm just telling you right now, okay? For those of you who are following along, who are engaged musically, who understand this sort of thing, yes.
Oh, yeah.
The real deal.
Yeah.
And,
I played on one once in my entire life. It was a Guitar Center.
I don't know how to play it very well. I mean, I've been a pianist since I was 5, but
organists are a different breed.
They are indeed. And so, but anyway, so that's what's going on with her. So look forward to that. And, but Medi-share has been helping sponsor all these things that we're doing. They're on the podcast. I put all the stuff out on the website, on YouTube, the blog post. It's all out there for you to go take a look at it. Happy New Year. Welcome back to the show For Caregivers, about caregivers, hosted by a caregiver. This is Peter Rosenberger, bringing you 30 years of experience to help you stay strong and healthy as you take care of someone who is not. This is Hope for the Caregiver, and we're glad you're with us. 800-688-9522, 800-688-9522. John, earlier today, just before I came into the studio.
Someone will break into your house tonight and steal.
Sorry, it looped around the other side.
Speaking of someone will break into your house tonight.
That was the first part of the Auld Lang Syne bit. Sorry.
I was in prison earlier today. I was at the prison.
Of course you were.
And
No, good.
So
Yes.
we're staying with that theme there. And I had a lady texted me, and she came over from Manchester, Tennessee, over in Coffee County, I believe, and dropped off 8 prosthetic legs.
Right on.
She brought 8 in her truck, 8 legs. And I had 2 at the house. And we took them all over to the prison where our folks, our friends at Core Civic, allow us to have a faith-based program over there where we recycle prosthetic limbs. This was Gracie's vision when she launched Standing with Hope years and years and years ago, was to be able to take used prosthetic limbs, recycle all the available components off of it, send it all over to West Africa, and where we purchase other materials and train and equip local workers to build limbs for their own people. And the thing that I liked about these legs that came in today, they were all from someone who was very, very small, almost pediatric.
Oh, okay.
So that's great because we treat a lot of kids over there. And surprisingly enough, a lot of kids get hurt by some very sad circumstances.
Well,
the things that wouldn't necessarily happen. Well, no, I take that back.
I mean, they're kids. You know,
I
kids
take
are kids
that back.
everywhere.
Well,
too.
and
Yeah.
the medical community, though, is not going to necessarily rebuild things. They'll amputate fast. But then again, I was talking to a pastor this week, emailed me, who sent over, I think, his son, 4 years old, lawnmower. And he's an amputee. He's now 15 years old, and they wanted to get involved with some stuff with Standing with Hope. Standing with Hope is the presenting sponsor of this show, and it's not too late to give an end-of-the-year donation. We would welcome that to help keep this show on the air, to help keep legs flowing so that people can walk. We give the gift that keeps on walking. It's ministry to the wounded and those who care for them. That's what we're all about. StandingWithHope.com, and we would welcome you going out right now. Take a look. Just look for yourself at standingwithhope.com/giving and see what we're doing. But it was amazing because and Friday I was at the prison as well, because the guy that's been running the shop where the inmates work was recently promoted. So they're hiring a new person who comes in next week. And so we got a few legs that have kind of been building up over there. We got a backlog of legs.
The sentences you utter.
I know. Well, we got a backlog of legs, and so I went over there to kind of help streamline, and I had a couple.
Well, you had to go over there and do some legwork.
I had to do some legwork. Oh, there you go. And I had the chaplain of the prison there with me, and then several other inmates. And a lot of the boxes that come in with the limbs that are donated come with a note, and I showed them to these inmates, and I said, like, this person sent it because this was her husband who passed away. This was their father, or this was so-and-so. There's always a story.
Oh, yeah.
And I said they didn't want to just discard this device. They wanted to go to something good. It was a part of their loved one, and they're trusting us with it. And you could just see on these inmates, they were genuinely moved by this. And I thought, how meaningful is this to be able to just sit there with these guys, and we go through, we count them all, we enter them into our computer system and so forth. And then they will disassemble them and then pack them. All the feet will go in a box, the pylons will go in a box, the knees and so forth. And it's just deeply meaningful. And you can tell they love the work. They truly love the work. They have to earn the right to be able to work in the shop. I mean, you don't just go to prison and then all of a sudden get to start working around tools and power tools and so forth. You have to earn the right. And these gentlemen have. And we've had great conversations over the years. Different guys come in because it's not a long-term facility where I'm going. It's not a Supermax facility where we're going. And this is it's just deeply meaningful to connect with them and see the new faces that come in and see them earning their way out of this situation. And that's what we do at standingwithhope.com. And we thank our friends at Core Civic for all their work on helping make that program. StandingWithHope.com. Go take a look and see how you can help others give the gift that keeps on walking, how you can help keep this show on the air and reach fellow caregivers like yourself. standingwithhope.com, and we're glad that you're with
30
us.
seconds.
Hey, show's over. We got to go. 2018 is going to be a great year. We're going to do it together. We're going to get strong together because healthy caregivers make better caregivers. Let's be healthy together. This is Peter Rosenberger. I'll see you next week. Thanks so much.